Well, good morning, everyone. I'm very proud to be standing here today with youth advocates, caregivers, lawmakers, and agency leaders to sign the new law called Kinship in Demand Act, also known as the KIND Act. With my signature today, we are making a very important step toward helping to keep our families together and better care for our most vulnerable children. I want to thank our friends at the Illinois ACLU for helping to initiate this very important bill and for standing strong to protect individual rights and freedoms in these uncertain and turbulent times. DCFS Director Heidi Miller and her entire team work day in and day out to support our state's most vulnerable children. Their hard work and dedication has given everyone confidence in the promise of this new law, and I'm very grateful for all that they do. As always, the members of the General Assembly have stepped up on behalf of Illinois' most vulnerable children, and they deserve our thanks, most especially our lead sponsors of the KIND Act, Leader Maddie Hunter and Representative Marcus Evans. The most important person in this room today may be Jeanette Bird, a caregiver for her two wonderful grandchildren. The KIND Act was passed to support caregivers who are family members, heroes like Jeanette, who stepped in to care for her loved ones and deserve every bit of support the KIND Act has to offer. Jeanette, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. I very much appreciate your willingness to share your story with us and with the state of Illinois. Every year, thousands of young people across our state enter the child welfare system. Often, these children have encountered challenges that seem insurmountable. Illinois takes it as a sacred obligation to ensure these children are given all that they can be to live safe, happy, healthy lives. The incredible staff at DCFS work tirelessly to meet that responsibility and ensure that these children are supported every day. Much of that obligation can't be met without a truly outstanding network of foster families willing to open their hearts and their homes to children in need. Wherever possible, a family member who already knows and loves a child can provide stability and familiarity, and most often leads to the least amount of disruption and trauma for a child. The research proves it. Youth in care living with relatives dramatically improves mental health outcomes, educational attainment, social function, child happiness, and the list goes on. But the academic studies just prove what we can already see in the faces of these children and hear it in their stories. The KIND Act was written with that in mind. Keeping these children safe and connected with relatives isn't just smart policy, it's the right thing to do. The majority of youth in DCFS care are currently living with relative caregivers. These caregivers have historically received a reduced monthly payment because they're not licensed and they do not wish to become licensed to care for their own family members. Yet the cost of raising a child is the same, whether it's done by a relative or by a stranger. The KIND Act allows DCFS to support relative caregivers by developing the certification standards specifically for them, ensuring the safety and well-being of youth in care and allowing them to receive the same payment rate as non-family caregivers. Not only that, the KIND Act enhances family finding efforts to ensure we are doing everything we can to identify relatives who can care for and maintain ongoing supportive connections with our youth. Just as importantly, it holds us accountable to incorporate the voices of youth and families in decisions that have a lasting impact on their lives. Together, we expect these changes to reduce the length of stay for youth in the child welfare system and help more youth in care find forever homes. Staying in a familiar place and seeing a comforting face every day, well, I believe these can make all the difference in the life of a child. So thank you all, folks who are behind me, some also in the room that care deeply about this. I want to really express my gratitude for your efforts and your partnership in this pursuit. I am proud every single day to work alongside you as we all work to build a stronger state, to build stronger families, communities, and of course, a stronger system to support our most vulnerable children. With that, I want to hand this podium over to a transformational leader and a champion for children and families, the director of DCFS, Heidi Miller.
Good morning, and thank you. Governor Pritzker, thank you for demonstrating your commitment to making Illinois the best state in the country to raise a family, for letting me be in this role, and for the way that you show up every day as a champion for the people of this state, in a way, frankly, that is pretty astounding to those of us who have worked with you and watched you for the last several years. And I feel like I have to ask, what vitamins do you take? I want to say thank you to Leader Hunter and Representative Evans for their hard work to bring this to the governor's desk. And I want to say to you that your work is going to positively impact children and families in this state for years to come. Thank you. To Nora Collins-Manville, who poured blood, sweat, and tears into this legislation, from drafting the bill to negotiating to lobbying and seeing it through to the end. We would not be here today if it weren't for her. And I also have to call out and thank our attorney, Jennifer Cleveland at DCFS, who for countless hours was right there with Nora, pouring through draft language, making sure we at DCFS could actually implement this bill. I have to say we wouldn't be here today without Jennifer either. Thank you, Jennifer. Saturday was my 1-year anniversary as director of DCFS. And in my first year, of all the things I've been involved in, this legislation is one of the things I'm most proud of. I'm proud of it because it moves us away from an outdated idea of what is good for kids and families. And it moves us towards the mountain of research that shows that children do best when they can remain with relatives and in communities where they are known and loved, and where those folks can wrap around them and help them heal from the trauma that they've experienced. But I'm also really proud of this legislation because it has personal meaning for me. You're going to hear from Jeanette Bird right after me, and she's really the most important person here, as the governor said. And you're going to hear her story of stepping in a time of need to care for her grandchildren. In the actions and the face of Jeanette, I see my great Aunt Esther, who similarly stepped in a time of need in my family to care for my mother. When my mother was a little girl, she lost her mother to cancer. And her father, coping with his own grief and struggling to manage a struggling family farm, couldn't care for her. So even though my Aunt Esther was a widow who was raising her own daughter by herself, she opened her arms wide and she took my mom in. Unexpectedly, she made that sacrifice. In doing that, she taught my mom really powerful lessons about love, about sacrifice, about taking care of each other, about mutual responsibility. And my mom passed those lessons on to me. And those lessons are what led me right here to this spot today. My Aunt Esther died a long time before she saw the fruits of her act of love so long ago come to bear. Jeanette is teaching those same lessons to her grandchildren every day. And my hope for you, Jeanette, is that you get to see your grandchildren stand up in front of a podium like this someday because of everything you're doing. At DCFS, our vision is for an Illinois where every child can grow and thrive in a family. And we know that what those families look like is as diverse and unique as every one of us. The way we achieve this vision is to center everything we do on the young people and the families that we are tasked with caring for. This means that we use the voices of the children and families we care for to guide us in our policymaking. It means that we build all of our practices around the experiences of the children and families that we exist to support. The KIND Act helps us achieve this vision. It equalizes payments to relatives with the rate provided to traditional foster parents. It helps youth in care maintain connections with their families. It tailors our services and supports to kinship caregivers and families. It engages youth, their families, and kinship caregivers in permanency planning to improve their overall experiences and make sure we are guided by their voices. It makes sure we take into account the wishes of the young people we care for and their families when we plan for their futures. And one of the most exciting things it does is it treats adoption and guardianship as equally viable options for young people for permanency when reunification with parents is not possible. These are some of the reasons why I am so proud to be here with you today in support of the KIND Act. And I hope that everyone else here with me today feels as proud as I do. And now I have the honor and privilege of introducing to you a real-life hero and the most important person you will hear from today, Miss Jeanette Bird.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. First of all, I just want to thank you all of you standing up here. I feel seen, and it gives me great honor that I can stand up here and speak for others that, just like me, just wanted to do the right thing. So, my name is Jeanette Bird, and I am a relative caregiver to my 2 beautiful grandchildren. It has given me great joy to care for them and a new sense of purpose. Although sometimes I look at myself like, what did I sign myself up for? But they climb in my lap, and they hug me and tell me they love me, and it makes me know everything's gonna be all right. Kinship caregivers are signing up for this, and to take care of additional children, and we need this financial support to do so. Oftentimes needed to tailor resources or navigate challenges as we move through the system. But the KIND Act, as it changes and prioritizes Kin First approach for our state, it would make a significant difference for kinship caregivers like myself. I want to thank you all for your hard work. I'm trying not to cry, y'all. I'm sorry. It's a reality that's taking notice of kinship caregivers and what we need and deserve in Illinois. My heartfelt thanks goes out to Governor Pritzker, Lieutenant Governor, and all the state lawmakers that made this possible in the efforts of this bill. We truly appreciate your support in making this happen. With the KIND Act, you are sending a powerful message to the children remaining connected to their families that it's a priority in this state. Thank you once again for everything.
Good morning. My name is Nora Collins Mandeville, and I'm the Director of Systems Reform Policy for the ACLU of Illinois. It is an absolute honor to be here today to witness the governor signing this important measure into law. Governor, thank you for the support that you provide to children across the state of Illinois. We're also pleased to recognize our legislative champions, State Senator Maddie Hunter and State Representative Marcus Evans, for their tireless support and commitment to getting this across the finish line from concept and into law. And we want to express appreciation to DCFS Director Miller and her team for their leadership and vision in supporting the KIND Act and being a partner in moving this through the legislative process. It should say something to everyone that the ACLU and DCFS have joined together to advance this measure. Today is a great day for children in Illinois. Although it is the culmination of hard work of these leaders and many advocates, the KIND Act reflects a simple reality. Children whose lives have been disrupted by family separation need stability and love. Beginning today, we write that straightforward notion into Illinois policy. Children who have already endured the trauma of being removed from their parents now will have a better opportunity for healing, for growing, and for learning. Our state policy now prioritizes placing children with someone they know, someone with whom they have an existing relationship, a family member. And today, we recognize the value of those existing family relationships and commit to assuring that these family members have the resources to assist in creating a safe and positive environment for children. We look forward to working with DCFS to implement this measure and improve life for families across the state. Today is a good day for children who are all too often forgotten in our society. And now is the time to make that promise of the KIND Act a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm State Senator Maddie Hunter, and I might add that as long as I've been a senator, I've been down here 23 years now, I have been a major critic of DCFS. I've even told professors at universities to just get a stick of dynamite and blow it up. And some of them were saying, well, that is so harsh to say something like that. But I wasn't satisfied with what was going on in DCFS. I've toured DCFS over the years, different departments. I've talked to some of their senior employees who have been involved with DCFS for 20, 30 years. I've looked at their systems. I sat on the advisory board. I've worked with the youth advisory board, coming down here on weekends to train these young people. And I've been doing a lot over the years, you know. And so I just kept saying we could do better, and we need to do better. And so I have a prepared statement. It doesn't make any sense for me to read it because it's everything that everyone else prior to my speaking has indicated. But let me just say this. The legislature cannot do anything without the cooperation of our advocacy groups, the governor's office, the community-based organizations. You know, we sit down all the time and put our heads together trying to figure this thing out, you know, and I think we got it right this time. I really do feel like we have it right this time, you know, because what the KIND Act is all about is keeping families intact. Families intact, okay? And it gives the support to caregivers, family caregivers, the resources that they need, the support that they need, not only financial support, but the emotional support that they need, okay? It gives them the other supportive systems, that whole network of care that is needed to make sure that our children grow up healthy, sound, productive citizens here in the state of Illinois. And so today is a great day. I look forward to continuing working with the governor's office and all of the advocacy organizations that help make today possible. So thank you very much. And at this time, I'd like to introduce my House sponsor, Marcus Evans.
Thank you so much. And just again, Senator Hunter, Leader Hunter, told you the years she served. Those are real years. Those are years that Senator Hunter has fought for communities like mine on the south side of Chicago, but communities all over. She's been a champion for human services, a champion for children for so many, many years. Google it yourself. You don't trust me? This woman has been great. But you look at these other legislators. They've chosen to care. Tara Costa Howard, my colleague in the House, Joyce Mason, my colleague in the House. You know, these individuals have chosen to care. So thank them as well, because you can't pass legislation. It's all about the idea, but you can't pass it without legislators who care. And the question is, what are these children going through? What are these families going through? These families are going through hell. These children are going through hell. And they need help. And Governor Pritzker, I'd like to thank you because he's always been a man of vision and a champion for tackling real issues. He said he's not going to turn his back on DCFS and pretend like it's not there. He's going to try to help these individuals because Illinois is about communities, and those communities are the backbones of families. How do we strengthen families? And let's start with the children, because these children will be adults, and these children will have their own families. Are they going to be good families? We don't know, but let's give them the tools as young people to succeed. And I want to thank this woman, our champion, our angel. People that take on children that are not theirs are angels. I got my own kid, and he's a handful. Taking on other people's children and ensuring that they have the stability to succeed, these are angels. And what we're doing with this bill with a few dollars, giving them stability, is giving them, we're repairing their wings. They got a lot to carry. And Governor Pritzker is saying, you're not going to carry this burden alone. Governor Pritzker is saying, we're going to give Director Miller and all of these experts, and I want to thank Nora and advocates and SELU, but we have smart people. Governor Pritzker is going to give them the tools, the ability to repair the wings of the angels of Illinois and help our children. Because if you don't know what these children are going through, you go look it up. They're struggling, and we're going to help these families. So thank you, Governor Pritzker, for your leadership, and thank you to the advocates. And we're going to get this done for these people so they can help our children. So thank you so much, and I just cannot wait. I mean, I looked this up. I spent time with the advocates, with Director Miller, and I cried a lot of tears too, because this is a tear-jerking bill. But we're going to wipe these tears off, and Governor Pritzker is going to kick it off when he picks that pen up. And some kid that we'll never meet, you know, his life is going to be changed. Some family is going to say, I can feed these children. I can maybe take them to the play place. You know, let's go to the mall and have a great time. You know, let's pay our light bill and our gas bill, because that's what it's all about. So thank you, Governor Pritzker, and I'm trying to hold my tears in. I don't want nobody talking about me. But let's do this, and let's sign this bill to help these families. Thank you so much. Great.
Happy to take questions from members of the media. Isabel.
Governor, in mid-November, you and the governor of Colorado announced the formation of the Governor Safeguarding Democracy. We haven't heard much of anything since then, and the website hasn't been updated in almost 2 months, and no new governors have been added to this coalition. What happened with this group, and is it still viable?
Oh, yeah, and we've had a number of conversations between governors. You can imagine that for the last, what are we at, 15 days now, 16 days, there's been active conversation between governors precisely about safeguarding democracy. We've seen attacks on the Constitution and a desire by the president to take away birthright citizenship. You know, Donald Trump has put so many things under attack, and we as governors are attempting to figure out how we can preserve rights for people in our state, and we share those ideas, different from one state to another, I might add, just because different states have different laws on the books to protect people We actually have done a good job in the state of Illinois of protecting people's rights. Other states have looked to copy some of the things that we're doing, and we get good ideas from them. No, we don't do public, it's not like it's an organization that has public meetings, and, you know, it's an opportunity for us to bring experts in, attorneys often, but also people who are expert in fields like technology. We've seen, you know, an attack on our individual privacy rights in just the last few days. Donald Trump has allowed President Musk to take control of people's personal data, and that's of great concern to all of us. So we've talked one another with what can we do in the state level, working with our attorneys general, for example. By the way, there are a couple of the governors who are former attorneys general, and so they also are helpful and have come from another organization, of attorneys general, who also meet separately, and they talk specifically about the lawsuits that are already filed and the ones that are likely to be filed.
Attorney General Raul,
Jeremy.
other attorneys general today, they announced a settlement with the National Women's Soccer League after a number of players came forward with allegations of harassment and sexual misconduct. There were players across this league, including with the Chicago Red Stars, who went public with allegations of misconduct and abuse at the hands of coaches and officials going back 10 years. There was an investigation later that found emotional abuse and sexual coercion were systemic across the league. Under this settlement, Raul and the other attorneys general will be able to enforce these new league protocols and protections for these players. And there'll also be a $5 million fund to compensate players who were abused. Any reaction, any thoughts to all this?
I did not know that, so thank you for reporting on that. I will just say that these women deserve all the protections in the world that we can provide. You never know if a settlement was really enough until we see what the results are in the years going forward. I will say that many of the owners of those teams have stepped forward and are doing good work, including, as you know, Laura Ricketts, to try to protect the players and and stand on their side in this moment. So I'm glad to hear that something has been an agreement has been reached. But again, we won't know what the real results are for some time. Dave.
Thank you very much. The priority is intact families, keeping kids with their loved ones, but in some families, as you know, dad's not a hero, he's a zero. He's an alcoholic, he shouldn't be around kids, he abuses them. How do you account for maybe the intact family is not the best place for some kids?
Well, I would like to ask Director Miller to come up and talk about it, but I will say that DCFS tries to be extraordinarily careful about, as they return a child to a family, to keep a family intact, that they've dealt with issues like alcoholism or drug abuse that may have occurred in a family that has caused a child to be removed. And so I want to commend them. It's very hard work. You know, we have tens of thousands of kids to look after, to monitor, and so on. And the people who are on the front lines do, I think, an outstanding job, honestly. And as we have funded them better and we've better filled the positions that are available at DCFS, I think we're, where are you, Heidi? I think we actually have more people working at DCFS now than, well, I don't know, in the last 20 years. Thank you. So, I mean, we've done a good job of filling the head count that is required, and there may even be more necessary. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Sure. I'll just say what Governor Pritzker said really eloquently is true. You know, every case is different. And it is our responsibility at the department to be very thoughtful and mindful and careful about the decisions we're making, because the decision we make with regards to a child and a family impacts that child and that family forever. Families struggle sometimes, and a temporary struggle can be overcome. And my family is a great example of that. Today, what we're talking about is, you know, when families struggle, even if families have to be removed from their biological parents, there are loving family members, extended family members, caregivers that can step in and fill that role, and kids do better when we find those folks and support them.
This is a monumental step
Mike.
for the agency and the state as a whole. This is a question for the director the DCFS system that are trying to find their way. Are there any plans in the works?
Sure. Well, I can tell you that one of our core priorities for the next several years is really supporting our kids in care as they transition into adulthood. It's an area that frankly we've looked at and we've recognized that there has been a gap in the support we provide over time. So, some of the things that we're looking for are frankly support from the legislature to fund some of the initiatives that we want to put forward, things that really expand services and support for kids to help them make sure they have stable housing. We want to make sure that we're looking at the transition plan early on as kids are starting to emerge into adulthood so we know exactly where they're going. And of course, the best thing for kids is if we can help find them a permanent, stable, loving home before they age out of care. Aging out of care is what happens when we kind of have failed at the part that we really want to achieve. So we want to make sure we take care of those kids because we owe it to them, but we want to kind of put everything we have into helping kids find homes like Jeanette's home, so they can be safe and be with loved ones and grow and thrive in a family.
Governor,
Yes.
yesterday President Trump had a press conference at which he decided to take over Gaza and basically send the Palestinians to another country. Could we have your reaction to that?
He says so many things that are so far out of bounds. This one, let me just be clear, is dangerous for the Middle East. It's dangerous for Israel. It's dangerous for Palestinians, and it's dangerous for the United States because the people across the Middle East care deeply about what happens to Palestinians and to Gaza. And to propose something or throw it out there, it's hard to tell when he's doing something, just off the top of his head that he doesn't really mean, trying to distract often, perhaps, from what Elon Musk is doing at some of the agencies yesterday, or if he's actually proposing something that's real. And the President of the United States should be more responsible than that. This one does not seem to have a responsible bone in his body.
Governor, you mentioned President Musk. Reverend John Cabello yesterday said that Illinois needs its own version of a Department of Government efficiency. Do you agree with him? And as you put your budget together, can you provide us maybe a few examples of scenarios you're looking to cut to fill this gap, this year?
Well, the problem, let's be clear, I'm very much in favor of efficiency in government, and we've been steadily over the last 6 years finding ways in which we can operate government, again, more efficiently, at a lower cost per person that we're serving, if that's possible. Obviously, with inflation, sometimes that's not possible. But these folks who, at this, what's called, I'm putting quotes around it because it's not a real department of government, to be clear, the Department of Government Efficiency, and what the representative is cheering for. They are all about shutting down services for middle class, working class, and the most vulnerable families in the country. They are about cutting government. Why? So that Donald Trump can bring an enormous tax cut to the wealthiest people in the country. That's also what the tariffs are about. It is for a state representative to talk about that Department of Government Efficiency as if it's something we need in the state of Illinois. We need efficiency for sure, and we're always working to do that. But as all of you know, there is not a line in the budget that says waste, fraud, and abuse. Yeah, let's cut that. You have to, in the details of every agency, you look for places where you can do it better and less costly. And sometimes that's possible, sometimes it's not, but we're always looking for that. Why? Because we'd rather deploy those dollars for better use. So I reject the notion that we want something like what Elon Musk is doing at the federal government level in the state of Illinois. Cool.
I'm sorry, we're just kind of waiting now for an executive order that would call for the
Dismantling the Department of Education, yeah.
To be eliminated. What effect would something like that have on Illinois schools, and what do the books look like after that would happen?
Getting rid of the Department of Education at the federal level would be devastating for schools across the state of Illinois. Let me just talk about the funding, and then we can talk about the individual programs. But as you probably know, about 88 to 90% of funding for schools in Illinois, K-12 schools, comes from local property taxes, local government, in other words, school boards, or the state. Collectively, that's about 88 to 90%. The rest of it, which is not an insubstantial number, we're talking about billions of dollars, comes from the federal government. And the federal government, if it shuts down the Department of Education and gets rid of those programs, will have diminished education in all the states, but especially here in the state of Illinois. Special education, which we all know kids who've gone through special education, or we know teachers in special education who are some of the most overworked, underpaid, people in the teaching profession, and we need more of them. To get rid of special education is to harm, again, the most vulnerable children in our state. So the Department of Education needs to be preserved, the programs need to be preserved. Again, always looking for efficiencies. If there's a way to deliver those services less costly, in a less costly fashion, fine. But taking away 10 or 12% of the education budgets of the 50 states is a disaster.
Last one.
John.
Speaking of doing it better, I was looking at some figures, and the Department of Corrections is 400 security staff members short of what's budgeted, 2,300 short of what they consider fully staffed. This is a problem nationwide. Corrections are way understaffed. There seems to be a groundswell, some think tanks, some progressives, some organizations are talking about we're not going to hire our way out of this problem. The answer is decarceration. Do you have any thoughts about, and this is a time when the prison population here has dropped 10,000 in the last 5 years, and yet we still have problem hiring people. Is there an answer to that? Do we have to look at the way we sentence people or put them away for long periods?
Sure. Let me just begin, though, by saying that that we've been doing a better job, and the Department of Corrections is doing a better job at hiring. Again, it's about adjusting to the situation of the economy. As you know, there was a massive labor shortage across the country for a couple of years, and we're only now starting to recover from that labor shortage. What happens in a labor shortage, of course, is the cost of hiring somebody goes way up. Government doesn't adjust to that very well. We only do budgets once a year. In a company, they can adjust day by day. And so we compete with the private sector and with others for somebody who might work in corrections. But we're doing a better job of being competitive and hiring people, so that's improving. Look, we also have looked at the people who have committed nonviolent crimes and whether or not they should be incarcerated from the get-go or how long they should be incarcerated for. I can tell you one thing, and I know Heidi Miller knows this, having been at the Department of Juvenile Justice, that any time that you send somebody in for the first time into a prison to serve a sentence, you are diminishing the likelihood that they will become rehabilitated and increasing the likelihood that they'll be a recidivist. It's just a fact. So having said that, there are people who need to be locked up, and we do that in the state of Illinois when we need to. But yes, as you know, we're trying hard to make sure that we're doing it efficiently and not incarcerating people who shouldn't be.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Yep, thank you.